Ask almost anyone what the future of work looks like, and you'll get the same one-word answer: robots. It's not a wrong answer, it's a 1/5 answer. And the other 4/5 are where every surprise is going to come from. This is the most common mistake in thinking about the future. We pick one lens, usually the one we know best, and study the future through it like we're looking through a keyhole. We see one bright sliver in perfect detail and miss the whole room around it. There's a simple tool that pries the keyhole open and forces you to look at the whole room. A 5-letter checklist, and once you have it, you can't go back to staring at one square. It's called STEEP. STEEP stands for 5 forces that shape every future: social, technological, economic, environmental, and political. The idea is almost embarrassingly simple. Take any question about what's coming, and instead of answering it through your favorite lens, you run it past all 5. 5 angles on one question. But here's the trap built into the way our minds work. When most of us imagine the future, we reach for the same letter first, every time. T, for technological. We picture the gadget, the AI, the robot. It's the loudest, most visible force, so it eats all the attention. Ask about the future of work, and the room fills with images of machines. And technology matters. Of course it does. But it's one square on the board. The reason forecasts go wrong so often is that the 4 quieter letters were doing the real work the whole time, and nobody was looking. So let's actually run STEEP on the future of work and watch the other 4 come into view. We already have the technological lens, the machines, but a machine that can do a job never tells you whether it will. That single word, whether, is decided by the 4 lenses nobody reaches for first. Social. Who are the workers, and what do they actually want? The workforce in most rich countries is aging. The same slow megatrend we met 2 episodes back, now showing up here. Fewer young workers behind them. And the ones already there changed what they expect. After 2020, millions decided they'd rather work from home, or work less, or do something that feels like it means something. None of that is a technology story, and it's reshaping work faster than any single robot. Then follow the money, because money decides whether the machine ever gets switched on. Automating a job only happens when it's cheaper than paying a person, and for a huge range of work, it still isn't. In that gap, a whole economy of gig and platform work grew up, quietly turning steady jobs into piecework. Robots or rideshare drivers? That's an economic question, not a technical one. Stack those against the technology and the picture already turns. The machines aren't acting on an empty stage. They're landing in a world of aging workforces, shifting expectations, and hard economic math. 3 lenses. Most analysis stops at 1. Now the 2 slow forces, the ones that move so gradually you ignore them right up until they decide everything. First, the ground itself starts to move. Climate is redrawing the map of which work exists and where. Heat, water, weather, reshaping whole industries. The thread this series keeps pulling lives right here, as growing regions for crops like coffee shift and shrink. The work of farming them moves, changes, or vanishes, and millions of livelihoods move with it. And right behind the weather come the borders. Political force decides who is even allowed to walk through the door. Immigration policy dictates who fills the jobs an aging country can't staff. Labor law decides what a gig worker is owed. Trade policy decides which factories stay open. A single election can do more to the future of work than a decade of engineering. And there it is, the whole board. The future of work was never a robot story with 4 footnotes. It's 5 forces at once, and the technology everyone fixates on is often the most predictable of the 5. The surprises were always in the squares nobody lit. That's what STEEP buys you, not a better prediction, a wider field of view. Here's the part that makes STEEP personal. You don't weight the 5 lenses evenly. Nobody does. Whatever you were trained in is the lens you reach for first, and the one on the opposite side is the one you quietly skip. An engineer sees the technological lens in vivid detail and treats the social one as soft and unserious. A policy person sees political and economic everywhere and gets blindsided by what the technology can suddenly do. A marketer lives in social and misses the environmental ground shifting under everything. none of them are wrong about their strong lens. They're just blind in the same predictable spot. So here's the move. Find the letter you find hardest to say anything real about, not the one you find boring, the one that feels like someone else's job. That's your blind spot, and it's exactly where your next surprise is going to come from. The fastest way to get better at this is to deliberately run the lens you'd rather skip. One last correction, the one that separates people who use STEEP well from people who fill it in like a form. STEEP is not a checklist you complete once and file away. 5 boxes, 5 ticks, done. If that's how you use it, you've missed the most useful part. The 5 forces are not separate. They push on each other. Back in Module 1, we talked about systems, how the parts of a system connect, so a change in one ripples through the rest. STEEP is that idea with 5 named parts. Take the same 5 squares and bend them into a ring. Now run it as a loop, not a list, and watch the forces move each other. Watch one push travel. Climate stresses a coffee-growing region, environmental. The crop fails and livelihoods collapse. Now it's economic. People migrate to find work. Social. The receiving country argues over immigration and writes new rules. Political. One change in one lens just traveled through 4 others. Read them in isolation and you'd never see it coming. Read them as a loop and the whole chain lights up. That's the difference between a list and a lens. The list tells you what to look at. The loop tells you how it moves. And the future is always in the movement. Your task this week. Take one question about the future you actually care about. Your industry, your city, your kids' world. Run all 5 lenses on it and force yourself to write one real sentence under each. Social, technological, economic, environmental, political. The point isn't to be comprehensive. The point is to visit the squares you'd normally skip. Pay attention to which lens was hardest, which one you stared at with nothing to write. That's the useful information about you. And put it in the comments. Tell me which of the 5 you found hardest. I'd bet the answer clusters by what people do for a living. And reading that spread is its own small lesson in blind spots. Next episode, we stop collecting tools and start building the habit that makes all of them pay off. A scanning practice you can actually keep. 15 minutes a week, 3 sources, 1 note. The smallest routine that compounds, and where all of this becomes real. 3 takeaways. First, most people study the future through a single lens, usually technology. STEEP forces all 5, and the 4 you skip are where the surprises hide. Second, the lens you find hardest is your blind spot, not your weakness, your blind spot. Run it on purpose, because that's where your next surprise is waiting. Third, STEEP is a loop, not a checklist. Don't just list the 5 forces. Run around the ring and watch them push on each other. The future lives in the movement.